In the most recent updates, we've seen something which we very, very rarely see, which is a buff to an already released commander in Ayrmidon. Now, when Ayrmidon was first released, I made a video going over him, and honestly, I was double-taking a lot at theorycrafting out the damage his ability would bring, because it just seemed so insignificant, realistically, considering his price point. He was released as one of the premium commanders, costing what would match the pattern of 1,000 black diamonds per 6 medals. His ability was just really weak in combat, and he was also unlisted here, very bad in Siege of Winterfell as well, which I'm also gonna cover in this video, because there was, going into this most recent season of All Out War, a very significant buff to his RTS game mode ability as well. The ability remained the same, but just like his PvP stuff here, the numbers just got tweaked up a lot, and a lot more significant than these actually. So Ayrmidon's Awakening skill has been enhanced. Weakness attacks required to trigger the effect is reduced from 20 to 10. So effectively, it will proc twice as much in a fight now. And then the coefficient of Ayrmidon's attacks towards 2 random enemy targets is increased from 80% to 100%. So you're going to get more procs, and those more procs will also be dealing more damage, and it will also increase the weakness attack stacks on the target too. Can't remember if I've covered that in a video since release, but I do have an example from a report where I can clarify something about this also. So I'm going to go to the sheet that I went over to analyze him on his release here. I have all the tabs that I used to show him in that video, and then as we go down, I have all this new stuff to go over as well. So whilst I'm on that point of how that weakness attack damage increase actually works in practice, when I first did the video, I believe I inferred it as being a flat damage increase, similar to, say, Julian's skill. When you actually analyze reports, however, this isn't actually how it works. So this report here is taken from CCCPC. You see here at the 31st second, the first hack he has on the A4 lineup, the very first attack, the weakness attack stacks from that weakness attack go up to 21%. He is 4-star Jamie weapon, so every weakness attack will stack 6% onto this. And effectively what this means is he attacked it when it already had 15% stacks on it. And with these numbers, that would mean Ayrmidon's ability hit A4 lineup 3 times before he managed to start weakness attacking it after killing previous lineups. So if we look to the left here, what we should see in the procs before 31 seconds, A4 lineup has Ayrmidon's ability hit into it 3 times, 5% each, so it goes 5, then 10, then 15%, just adding the weakness stacks preemptively before you get to it. You see here, hits A4 lineup, A4 lineup, and A4 lineup, so there we go. It mirrors that perfectly, so it's a much weaker effect than I initially thought when he got released, which is kind of funny because I already thought he was very weak at the time. But yeah, it's just weakness stacks that you'd get from Jamie and Drake. It's not a flat damage increase or anything like that at all. Then when we go down and look at his new amounts of damage, we look up first of all and just see what it was previously. So here is what it theorycrafted to be, and pretty closely mirrored what I saw in reports also. You'd have it proc after 20 weakness attacks, 40, 60, 80, and then 100. And every time it procced, it would do 80% damage coefficient twice, so 160%. So you'd get 5 procs of 160% damage coefficient for a total of 5 procs for 800% damage coefficient. And this was all you could ever get from it. You couldn't use multiple weakness lines to get more procs or anything like that, because his tooltip specifies that only front row troops here, with that at the front, couldn't actually trigger this. So as far as damage goes, this is very weak considering his price point. If we look at what it's gone to now, you can see it procs a lot more often, obviously. Procs at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. The amount of normal attack, or weakness attacks in this case, that you will get will vary from report to report, obviously, so these won't be exact numbers because Different troop types have slightly different engagement times in reports. You can have different engagement times with walls are up, or if you're in UT, or if you're in AC. There are a lot of variables here. These are numbers taken off rebel groups, just for context there. But you can see it goes from 800% damage coefficient to 2000% damage coefficient in total, which means it's a 150% damage increase with this update, plus you're gaining the additional weakness stacks. The weakness stacks aren't too significant, so you have 10 procs here, you hit 2 lineups, you're gaining basically 20% weakness stacks throughout the fight with that slight buff. It's not much, but it is more damage, which is never a bad thing. I still don't think this makes him like top tier, but it does make him more usable now, I think. He isn't just a total joke. This is the sort of damage you'll be getting from something like Sandor. So if we're comparing it to Bleed, for example, maybe he isn't anywhere close to John or Daron, but he is more viable below that. Because of that, though, he's still in just a very awkward position, obviously, because there's just such better options for players, and unless you're a max account, I don't really see why you'd be getting him, honestly, because I'd rather have Dana. If you could invest into Daenerys' weapon, I'd rather have her, I'd rather have Night King. You can just run double line weakness, triple line weakness. I still don't think he's great. For like max account UT setups as just a fifth when you've got your Night King and other lineups and stuff. You've got your Daenerys and your female line. He'll have a place there, but that obviously just applies to none of us, really. He isn't a total joke now, at least, though. And when I did that first video, I was very paranoid and sure that I'd messed something up because I just didn't understand how he could be that bad. But I guess developers saw that he needed a tweak up to, and 150% damage increase, pretty significant. The thing that wasn't listed in the patch notes, though, was his change to the RTS game modes of Siege of Winterfell and All Out War. And you can see here I list 100 times better in RTS game modes, which is a big number, but it is actually the case. You see that the ability is the exact same. Nothing has been changed to that. 180% normal attack damage increase. And then he has a normal attack linked passive, so he's similar to Baelish in that sense. When the commander is deployed, the commander troops have a 30% chance to deal damage to 3 targets near their initial target. That's the exact same as previously, and I do have a screenshot of the sort of range you can get on that, actually, that I'll bring up now. So this is during the All-Out War season. I believe what was happening here was he was hitting a rebel group, one of the Dragon Guards here, which take Dragon Blood, and he hit that, testing Ayrmidon in one of the second or third slots. And that chain lightning effect actually hit all the way over to there. So that is a huge degree of distance that effect is actually covering. So 3 targets near their initial target after attacking. Realistically, when you actually do the maths on this, so the reason Daenerys is so good is her active can cap out at 6,000% damage scaling if you're hitting into 5 targets when that active casts. Ayrmidon here is seemingly, I'd say, able to secure that AoE damage easier than Daenerys. And 3 targets for 300% is a total of 900% damage scaling. And it procs passively off normal attack, so if you can multiply that up with Baelish and potentially Jaime, if the crits scale into this in any way, I mean, he has normal attack damage increase, which will synergize with that naturally anyway. Baelish, Jaime, Ayrmidon might overtake Sunel, Daenerys, Layla as the best RTS composition, and probably what max count should put their Lord in, because that damage is just fairly insane for passive stats, to be honest. You could also do Baelish, Mengo, Ayrmidon, and just stick to people like glue. It would work with, say, mono bows in All-Out War with the 300% range increase because it only procs off normal attacks. So whilst Ayrmidon isn't that great in normal PvP, I think he might be the best in RTS PvP at this point, so that's a real niche for him. He might not have totally overtaken Daenerys, but he's at least on a tier. Previously, I said it was Daenerys and Baelish as the 2 best commanders in the RTS game modes. I think it's clearly Daenerys and Ayrmidon at this point. Because, yeah, the damage you're going to be getting from this is just absolutely mental, realistically. So, I'm guessing this video won't apply to too many people out there. Probably very few people will watch it because of that. But for those that are interested in it, and do have intentions or perhaps considerations of golding Ayrmidon for whatever reason, wondering if this update has actually made him usable, hopefully this has helped at least a little bit.